Over 80% of the time, the man has to pay either some type of alimony or they have to pay some type
women, Mary J. Blige pay alimony to her.
Let's
talk about it.
90% of the time.
The exception to the rule doesn't change it.
Oh, it's
over
niggas.
80% of the time, the man is paying some alimony or they're losing their assets in a divorce. Over 95% of the time, the man loses full custody of the child. So you're talking about, you want me to enter into an agreement with the state that if this fails, I don't have full custody of my child, even though that we found that statistically single fathers outperform single mothers in terms of creating positive members of society.
Another conversation.
Number two, I'm going to go through a 2-year divorce and go through a ringer with the state where I'm going to lose assets. Even if I had my own house, if you contribute money to my house, I could still lose it. Even if it's $1,000, if you contribute money, I can still lose it just because you came into the situation. So you want to tell me, what's the price of submission? If a man is paying all the bills, if he's providing, should he be able to get sex when he wants?
No. I am not your property.
So.
See, I'm a bank account.
But yeah,
it's a weird
Then
reality.
Go get a prostitute.
But it's what I'm saying. But it's a real. It's
then go get a prostitute. You can pay for her.
So then she would need a pimp. You know what I mean? Like, because my whole thing is, you want money, I want sex. How do you create a situation?
What type of marriage are we talking about?
But we've been doing real reality. You know what I mean? Like reality, man. Like all men will lie to you. Men don't think about sex.
Well, respectfully, this is where the delusion comes into play.
Back to delusion.
When they hit delusion, it's like you punch them in the mouth. It's like an air punch.
It's crazy.
The only thing that men get in marriage is sexual exclusivity and a child. That's really it.
That's all they get?
You can get a child anywhere.
Let me break it down. There's nothing. You can.
The baby daddy of 6 kids.
I know niggas got 10 babies. 10 different ones.
There's nothing that men really get in marriage that they can't get outside of marriage. You're talking about, you want a man to commit to a contract with the state that if you break it, he loses 50% of everything that he's ever earned in his life.
Here's what I'm saying. This is the thing that I don't think women understand the gravity of that statement that men think about, right? Because it's not, you don't have to put it on the line. If you ever decide to get married, you don't think about this.
Yeah.
But if I do, I gotta sign a document with the state that the shit that I own and built up my whole life.
I have to sign the same document.
They don't want your They don't want the shit you got.
Watch this.
Y'all don't want what?
They don't want your shit.
Your shit's not as valuable.
You
Here's
don't,
why.
First of all, you don't know that.
I'm gonna talk about her state.
I'm remembering that you're talking about women in general. You're not talking to me. You're not talking to me.
All right, I'm not saying you don't have valuable shit. I'm saying listen, but you're only looking at men that have better assets than you, right? When the judge breaks down everything and the man has better assets than you and more money than you, because that's what y'all said y'all want. Y'all only want a man that you can't build. You don't want to build him up.
Orgasms. You right.
You don't want to build him up.
So come on, what about that? So she know.
Yeah, here we go.
Know, I want a man making more money than me.
Yeah.
He gotta make more money than me.
But when I being unfaithful, that 50%.
That's my money. That's what I'm saying.
But you shouldn't have been unfaithful.
But what I'm saying is, what's the incentive?
What's the incentive?
For men.
Right, because he's saying
marry.
the benefit to me, I gotta make a deal with the state. The state don't give a fuck about me.
We all have to make a deal with the state.
But the state looking at me when it's over.
But when you break the contract, because 8 out of 10 divorces are initiated by black women in the black community. 8 out of 10. So y'all break up homes.
Ooh.
Oh, that was strong.
That's wild.
I get it.
And it's because the man
I was saying y'all break up homes, but when you look at
Let me land.
Okay, land.
My bad.
Go ahead, slide your plane.
I want women to be
Find your
attracted
strength.
so bad.
I'm just
I
speaking
do not understand
Okay.
it.
It's no
When you look at the facts, you gotta. Here's my thing. The facts don't have an angle. They just are what they are. Now you can put the context behind it.
Right.
That's great. But I'm just speaking on the facts.
Okay, but if the fact is that 8 out of 10 black women initiate divorce, did the 8 out of 10 black women initiate the divorce because the man did something stupid?
That's
Let's
what I'm saying.
let's say this. Let's say half of them are because of the worst things ever: domestic abuse, whatever. Let's just say half.
Okay. So now it's 4 out of 10.
So not only do I want to not get beat up anymore, I also want my half.
Right.
Well, I'm saying you exclude.
Let's take those out. So now
40%.
40% of women are initiating divorce.
That's still crazy.
Why?
Because when you say your vows and you say until death do us part, for better or for worse, in sickness and health,
Right.
What does that mean? What is your word? Your word doesn't really mean the same weight. If we're taking half of the worst things ever,
Okay.
you're just divorcing because you're what? Unhappy?
Do
That's a reason to divorce?
Do we know
Does
why most?
self-worth not matter anymore?
What does that mean?
Oh, hold on, wait.
She said self-worth.
Can we
What's
run the
that
question?
mean?
Can we run the question back again?
Well,
Because I don't want to deviate too much.
getting
The question is,
But-
who
what she's
benefits
saying,
more from marriage, men or women?
Right, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
men.
So we're talking about like
I'm sorry,
benefit.
I'm speaking
benefit
as
in a
to-
sense of like doing the relationship journey of marriage, like that whole journey. Who's gonna benefit the most?
Right, and I'm speaking from the perspective for men. What men are saying right now is that
Women
marriage
benefit the
doesn't
most.
benefit them.
I'm
Right.
sorry.
This is where what happened?
I don't think women benefit the most.
but why?
I feel like we have a lot of sacrifice.
What are we
Speak your piece.
sacrificing?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What are we sacrificing?
We're
Elaborate.
sacrificing our bodies by providing these men children that they
Providing
want.
these men, you want them too.
What?
I want to know what.
I mean, I would assume that you got married to the dude. Y'all had a conversation about your joint vision of you wanting kids, right?
But we talked earlier about how men are very serious about their legacy.
Right, but I'm saying, but if you would pick the dude you picked, you had a conversation about that, like,
We did.
right, and
We
you
did.
know, you
but
were
that
on
does
one
not mean it's
accord.
not a sacrifice on my body and my health.
But
and
when you sat down
everything.
and you had a dream about you having a family, that was already a part of the deal.
But that's still a sacrifice. It doesn't
But
change that narrative.
that's the point. You have to sacrifice for a dream.
That's
There
fine.
ain't no dream for free.
But it's still a sacrifice.
But it's for the one things you want, though.
What did
You
you,
make a
sacrifice?
sacrifice
What
for
would
the-
you sacrifice by getting married?
What would I sacrifice?
Your freedom.
Or
A contract with a state.
Okay,
Yeah.
Is it that we when we're saying like who is more beneficial and we are saying well who's sacrificing more, are we not doing sacrifices that benefit both parties?
We're saying,
There you go.
benefit.
Is that what's happening?
What you mean, like who
I don't-
benefits?
Who's the
in what way?
primary
She's
beneficiary?
trying to say you asked who benefits more in a marriage and she disagrees that it's not. She doesn't think it's women. She thinks it's men. So you asked her why she thinks that. So she said, well, number one, I'm sacrificing my body to give you the kids.
Okay.
And that's
Among
a
other
sacrifice
things,
that
of
you can't
course.
do. Y'all can't have kids.
Y'all can't do those
we have
things.
to
But
have
that's
kids.
not
have to
exclusive
do
to
those
marriage.
things.
There's
What-
nothing that
okay.
says you have to be married to have kids.
So
that's not exclusive to marriage.
Okay,
Fair.
so once again, so we're back to what's the benefit for men? What's the benefit of marriage for men?
Who's the primary beneficiary of marriage? There's nothing inherently that says that you have to be married to procreate.
Well,
Right.
someone helps to take care of you for the rest of your
Who
life.
does most of the work as far as like taking care of the child, taking care of the home and everything? The women do that. Y'all go out, I guess, quote unquote, and work and what have you, and then we're expected to do these traditional womanly
Roles.
things, nurturing, taking care of the kids,
The
making sure the
home.
home is clean, making sure you're fed, the kids are fed, we do a lot of that. And that is a sacrifice on our life. Men really don't have to do that, even husbands. Now, will we expect y'all to? Of course, but they don't have to. It's very different for a woman. So therefore, I feel like we do sacrifice the most. It takes a lot of out of our lives that you will never experience. You can't experience it.
And listen,
So therefore, in a marriage and when we're under the same household and everything, we do provide a lot of value. Things that you want to come home to, you wouldn't come home to it without us.
I like to change my
Listen,
answer.
I agree. I agree to her point on that. I do think that men benefit more in marriage. But we benefit in different ways, though, right?
Down with the
For the same
patriarchy.
point that you spoke on, I think you do. But it takes a lot of effort to, when you think about like, women who take care of a home, a real woman who is doing those tasks. Like, taking care of a home, cleaning, cooking, making sure everything's put together and organized. It smells good, it's homely. That does take a lot of effort. I think the reason why we benefit is that the things that we get from you, we see it on a more consistent basis. The thing that we give up and submit, most men who are stoic men who put their lives on the line for their family, like we do it in other ways that you benefit from that, from that protection that like, I'm not even to the gym. Other dudes see him as a threat. You get protection because of that. They don't want to mess with you. You might not see that used on a daily basis, but there's a benefit that you get because of that. So we benefit in different ways, but long term, it seems like men will get more of that on a consistent. You'll see that more prevalent, right?
So
in the terms of like the
terms of
things
what,
that,
nurturing?
in a traditional sense of like,
Yeah,
if
'cause
you
y'all-
have a
y'all-
family
y'all are very nurturing.
and you have
We
most
are.
of the time, most men in today's day and age, they don't really take care of their kids. I mean, men are present, especially black men. Men are present in relationships, but in the sense is like in responsibilities where like the wife might be doing more things with the child. I'm not saying you're not present and you're not instructing, but in the sense of doing more things, taking the hospital visits, taking them to school and things like that, you see that more active, more of the women are more active in that sense, in that role. So, you do see a lot of effort in like taking care of the home from the women's side for sure. I mean, the man does provide, and that is an effort to financially bear the burden, especially if the structure is that you have the man making majority of the financial load.
So,
right?
But that's called a partnership.
Right, it's
You
a
take
partnership.
this,
It's a benefit,
you do
right?
that, we come together.
So respectfully, here's why what you said is cap. Here's why. When they're talking about the men that they want, the men that are doing better than them, right? If y'all are talking about y'all are career women and y'all are doing good in your career, but y'all want a man that's even better than y'all. So you get a man that's doing better than y'all, and he's more rare technically than you are. From a percentage standpoint, he's more rare than you are. Now you're looking at a man that's excelling in his career, that has a purpose, that has maybe other character traits that you admire because you got with him. So he has to have something that you wanted to settle down with. When you say, okay, you make the house a home and you take care of the kids, well, who's putting the roof over everybody? When you talk about the term husband comes from a Greek terminology of house bander. It's a person that keeps the household together. So you're saying I'm going to enter into a marriage with a man that's going to keep this household together, that's going to be the primary protector, the primary provider. That's what y'all said. Y'all want a man that's doing better than y'all.
Providing the household and building the foundation is completely different, and women build the foundation for that household.
Women build the foundation how?
By what I just talked about, taking care of the household, taking care of the children, making sure the husband is good in many ways as well. Like, the man is a provider, yes. They do. They put the roof over our head, but we build the foundation within the house. We're there while y'all are out working.
It's essentially y'all provide the house, but we make it a home.
Correct.
But okay. Everything that you're saying that you provide, somebody can outsource. House care.
But go outsource.
Well, house care somebody can outsource. I can send
But
the kid to daycare.
but you also just said that like y'all a unit. Like, people survive better in a relationship, in a marriage. So it's like you could outsource all those things, but you still need to get married. At the end of the day, in order to have a well balanced, what is it called? Like not high valued life, but to have like a very fruitful life, you need to be married, or you should be married.
But the question is, who benefits more? That's the question.
But so you think because you provided the house and the protection and then you benefited more.
I feel like the foundation is more than the actual like house. Like, building a home, like she said, is way more valuable than just putting a roof over your head.
It's almost like you can throw money at all the issues. Like, you can throw money at the
Literally.
caretaker, you can throw money for the house, and you can throw the money. But it's like we provide things that you can't throw money.
It's a structure that we
Yeah.
provide.
I would have to agree to that. It's twofold, right? You can have a big mansion, it still feel empty.
Convert it.
Right? No, I'm not on y'all side. I'm on a side of sense, right? It's a twofold system. You know, we need both. We need you to bring the home, build the land, get the plot, get the yard space, the acres, and she's gonna make it homey.
So if you
It's the same reason why you said you will leverage her skills for interior design.
Yeah,
because,
I was just about to use that example. Thank you.
No,
Yeah. Down with the patriarchy.
no, I'm just saying.
So you
no.
so if you're talking to your son, right? And
Right.
you say, "Hey, go get married and go enter into this contract with the state that if this fails."
Stop.
No, this is y'all gotta stop breezing over this. Divorce kills men.
It does.
Kills.
It does.
Cause y'all can't
It
live
does.
without us.
No, because financially you go
Okay,
to
wait,
each
wait. You
other.
talking about on a financial
Why
level.
does
No, I'm not talking the whole way through.
These are two separate questions, right? Because like yes, there's like a lot of negatives when it comes to like marriage for men because of the legal implications. But in the sense of just like if you pick the good spouse on both ends, like who benefits more? I'm not talking about like what happens after the fact if it don't work out.
Yeah.
But that's a separate kind of question.
Benefit
Right.
is measured in risk versus reward.
I get that part, right?
So you got to look at the risk.
But
you
we're
can't
talking
just
about-
look at.
You ask,
My
okay,
man
well,
gonna be
if you're
rewarded,
looking
okay?
at all if you're looking at all the legal implications, yes, it doesn't seem like we have a good incentive to get married as a man. Yes, But if you take that aside and you said, all right, maybe by the divorce,
You can't take it aside. You
I
can't
understand. I'm just hyper. Maybe we can do a thought experiment.
There is no take it aside.
Y'all are attaching a lot to monetary things. A lot of it is just like even this conversation is all about the state. Like this is that's monetary.
I'm not gonna lie.
But
In this world, money is like breathing. You know what I mean? I know we don't like to psychologically put a value to money. But again, I say if I took all your money out your bank account, what you gonna do? You gonna be dead. You gonna be dead in a couple days. You gonna be dead in a couple days.
we gonna be out here boxing.
You're gonna be dead in a couple days anyway, right?
I ain't
Because
gonna be dead,
you know,
but
This is the thing that
fight
women.
you.
This is the thing. I think women don't think about it this way because they're never in the position where this doesn't benefit them. When
Wait,
you're
but
talking
this is a man who
Hold
was
on,
thinking of it
hold
this way.
on.
wait.
Hold on.
Let me explain. I mean,
When you're-
I'm not on y'all side of all that.
Oh,
When you're-
you already jumped over here. You can't jump back.
Can't be jumping back. You flip
When
flopper.
when you're talking about divorces,
I'm on the side of
over
sense.
80% of the time, over 80% of the time, the man has to pay either some type of alimony or they have to pay some
There are
type
women.
of.
Mary J. Blige pay alimony to her.
Oh,
husband
well,
to
take
this
some-
day. Let's talk about it.
Hold on, hold on.
90% of the time.
The exception to the rule
is-
doesn't change it.
Oh, she's
It's
Over
niggas.
80% of the time, the man is paying some alimony or they're losing their assets in a divorce.
That's
Over
big.
95% of the time, the man loses full custody of the child. So you're talking about you want me to enter into an agreement with the state that if this fails, I don't have full custody of my child, even though that we found that statistically single fathers outperform single mothers in
That's
terms
another
of
conversation.
creating positive members of society.
Another conversation.
Number
Sorry.
2, I'm going to go through a 2-year divorce and go through a ringer with the state where I'm going to lose assets. Even if I had my own house, if you contribute money to my house, I could still lose it. Even if it's $1,000, if you contribute money, I can still lose it just because you came into the situation. So you want to tell
Came
me
into the situation.
Well, okay, so just so I'm clear, because earlier you defined the beneficial as risk versus reward. So your whole point is that men benefit more from marriage because they have more to lose.
No, I think women benefit more from marriage.
I'm
And
sorry,
there's-
your whole
yeah,
point
yeah.
is that
and the
women
reason
benefit
that
more because
women,
men have more to
the reason
lose.
that little girls are sold on this dream of marriage is because women inherently benefit more from marriage. Men
But
are
is-
not sold in marriage.
Right,
men
but
men don't grow up
well,
and say,
I mean-
I want
What
a
I'm
big
asking
wedding.
is your fundamental reason for believing that because men, they have more to lose. Like, is it because
The risk-
if it doesn't go well,
The risk is high.
right? So I'm saying, is your fundamental thought when you say men benefit more, it's because y'all have more to lose. So if it goes wrong,
I
y'all
wouldn't
have
say,
more to
I
lose.
wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's.
That's what you're saying.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's his fundamental thought. I think we all think like that in everything that we do, right?
No, I
you
think-
weigh your options on how worth it is for you to do the thing, whether to go to school, get
Right.
a degree, work at the specific
Right.
career. You weigh the risk versus the reward and all
Right.
the things you encounter.
Right.
And you say, okay, maybe this relationship with this person might not be worth it because
Right.
of whatever it is. And so men have now weighed that same risk versus reward when it comes to marriage and says, well, because I got to deal with the state, when I look at the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make sense for me to do that. Worst case scenario.
When you're
Right.
looking at the marital rate, right now the marital rate is about 57%. That's low in terms of like how successful your marriage will be. So you're saying men are entering into agreements where they're saying there's almost a 1 out of 2 chance that this could fail, and if it fails, I'm gonna get crushed.
But we do have an 85% remarry rate.
Absolutely.
And then
So marriage
They
is
do.
still hopeful in itself, but I think the statistic that makes that so skewed is that people make bad choices,
right.
right? I think people don't have discernment.
fair.
They don't know how to see flags or run away, and then they make bad life choices.
And I think that's where there's a big disconnect on like how we're thinking and how maybe the average man thinks, because like I don't go into my marriage thinking what happens if this fails. So like I think the reason we think we think men are more beneficial is because we're like, what are you getting if this survives? I understand your statistics that say that statistically 50-50 it fails, but like when we go in, I think we're thinking y'all are benefiting more because we're thinking about it like it not failing, whereas you're saying we benefit more because you're saying if it does fail, look at all these rewards that we reap and look at everything that you lose.
Yeah.
if
Well,
it fails.
I think
I'm
the
putting
reason
a-
why you might be blessed to think like that because you do benefit. You know what I mean?
That's
Because
what
when
I'm
you do
saying.
benefit, you wouldn't think that way. You know,
I'm
putting
just
all
saying
my-
where the
the
disconnect
reason
is
why I
coming
think
from.
like that is because if you're gonna get crucified, if you're
apologize.
gonna get crucified for doing something, you should know.
Would you put all
You
your
should
chips?
know.
Would you put all your chips on the table to win one chip?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. That wouldn't be a good bet. That's what I'm saying.
So we can solve this all by y'all never getting married.
I'm not saying. I
then we all
prescribe
would be
marriage.
miserable.
But my thing is, I'm not saying don't get married. I
I'm
want
just
people
saying,
to get married.
if
But I
you don't want any of this, to
I'm still pro
potentially
marriage. I
happen,
think
don't
I'm
get
still
married.
pro. Everything is hard.
Not
Everything is hard
Well,
to
the
do.
answer,
No.
the answer isn't to not get married. The answer is that can we all understand how big of a risk this is and put in full effort? Because right now, you know, when no fault divorce came into play in the '60s, that was you know, you could get divorced for any reason. Back in the day, you needed a real reason. He got to get caught cheating. He had to have a baby across town. Now she can wake up and just be like, I don't feel this, and take everything from you.
Not feeling it anymore.
So you got to understand from a man's perspective, when a man gets down on one knee and proposes marriage, it's like, yo, this is a big deal. In Japan, that's like the highest honor. That's the highest honor for a man to propose marriage to a woman. There's nothing bigger than that. So when we understand the implications, like, oh, this is a big deal, let's take this seriously, as opposed to, if it work, it work. If it don't, it don't, because you know, I'm a walk away and find somebody else. It's not that.
Are we thinking that's the majority? That's why the other, like the theoretical in our, like the way we set up the percentages, that's why 40% of women are divorcing the men. It's because they just don't feel, they're not
No, it's
doing it anymore.
8 out of 10.
You said 80, but you said let's take the worst case scenario and say 40% are dealing with abuse or something crazy, and we took that out. So you said you're left with another 40. You're saying that 40%
Just 'cause they wake up and
theoretically
don't
they
wanna
just
be
don't
with you
feel like it
anymore?
anymore.
Well, they feel that they can do better. A lot of when women excel in their career, right? Let's say you're a woman, you got married early, 23, 24, and then you've been married 8 years, you're 32. Now you excel in your career, you making, I don't know, 150, 200K, right? I could do better than this dude that I was with. He
Okay,
may
so-
not be excelling, so let me go back in the field. Let me be Tia Mowry
I feel like
and go in the field.
Whoa, don't come for my good sense.
Tia Mowry wasn't even a good example because Corey wasn't making shit. Okay, first
we
of
go.
all,
Here we
she,
go.
she
They
was.
don't build nobody.
but-
I get it. I get it. No, I hear you.
You
I
know
hear
Corey
you.
wasn't making shit.
But I'm
he was
saying,
Corey
but
was
that's
a good man, though.
But that's a good
Was
man.
he?
I don't know.
I don't have enough
know
facts.
personally.
Because-
I don't have enough facts.
I don't know him
First of
personally.
all, let's be clear. We don't know their household.
All right, I ain't gonna speak
We
on
don't
nobody
know.
else.
We don't know nobody personally.
We don't
We don't know
know
these niggas
their
personally.
personal shit. You don't know just because she was a little bit more powerful than him, how he could have been bringing her down, her and her confidence, and she was trying to basically submit to him in any way she can to make the marriage work.
But
You
she
don't know
wrecked
that,
her
but she
home.
chose to choose herself in that
She
situation.
wrecked her home. She's a homewrecker.
But
No, she's not a home
You
wrecker.
can't call her a
First
home
of all, she
wrecker.
probably bought that home. Let's be clear, because she's still living there. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't off his income because
So that's
Tia's income
so that
is
means
here.
She
they
wrecked
should
her
give it to
home
him.
because she said, I'm going to get a divorce and
And
put
be
my
happy.
children in a position where they're statistically less likely to be successful.
But there's also another perspective there in just that specific case.
No.
Where
Because I was raised by a single mother.
No. Well,
And statistically,
well, my
I
point-
should not have done as well as I have in life. So I will not allow that.
There's
bullshit.
exceptions,
There's
there's
always
exceptions
exceptions to
to,
the rule.
every rule. Just
Yeah.
because you came out great doesn't mean that every child that would go through
And
the
you don't
same
think
thing.
that woman
But
kids ain't
listen,
gonna come out alright?
well, my only point
No,
to
I don't think
to that point was there's also studies show that like sticking around for the kids still might not be the good choice
Sounds
because
depressing.
in the sense where no, you still don't have a good intimate relationship. So your kid
Yeah,
grows up
yep.
seeing dysfunction between the
Right.
two of y'all, not talking, not
Agreed.
showing intimacy. So I mean, it's twofold. I don't think that staying just for the kid might be a better option.
What
either.
are your terms for divorce, though? Do you think that there are any reasons to divorce?
Well, for one, here's the thing: you make a commitment. Now you can make bad decisions because some people do, and right. So it's like, is there any reason? Like, it's hard for me because in my belief, I'm like, well, if I made the right decision, I made the right decision, so I got to stick to what I did, right? So divorce shouldn't be an option. But in those cases where you have it as an option, I think it should just be a used option, especially if you have kids, because I think that what you grow up to show your kids is, they're going to see you and emulate you. So the way you treat each other because you have this disconnect, they're going to think that that's what the normal relationships look like. And they're going to try to emulate that in their life. And you're going to do a disservice to your own kids that way.
I agree.
So I do think that, like, in the grand scheme of it, if you do have kids, you got to think about, above yourself, right? If you don't have kids, then do what you want. You know what I mean? I think
So
it
you're
makes
saying-
sense.
Go find your happiness.
I'm just saying, no, it's an easier decision to say,
Well, you
okay, well, if
contradicted
it
your
really
point.
if I made a bad choice, I really wasn't looking, and I didn't have this, and I missed flags, okay, I would hate to do it, but
But you contradicted your point. You said that it's not always healthy for you to stay in it for the kids, but then you said if you have kids, you should stay in it for their benefit.
No. I was saying if you don't have kids, you do what you want. But if you have kids, like, and you guys are working out, you should separate. You should divorce. Now, I think you should not stay there if you're gonna not work the relationship.
What are the
out.
terms of that? Is it what are the terms of divorce?
What do you mean, like
when you say the vows? For better, for worse, for death do us. But what are the terms?
I don't think a lot of people.
I mean, we
about
make
that,
a commitment,
though.
but I'm saying if you get to a point where like you literally cannot live in the same house with that person because you guys are just at that point, I can't control what she does. If my girl just changes overnight, I don't have nothing to do with that. Okay. And if it gets to a point where it's unbearable and unlivable with, I got to make a decision because what's going to happen if we do have kids is that they're going to see that reaction to all our disconnects, and I'm only going to do a disservice to them. So I have to decide whether or not, like, you know, me sticking it out with them is valuable for the child, you know, which it probably wouldn't be, you know. So then at that point, it's like, all right, well, then you got to break your principles and make the divorce happen because it's bigger than you at that point, in my perspective. But if you don't have you get to that tricky area when you have kids because you got to. It's a bigger purpose now because it's not just you're thinking about. Oh. You know, so you got to be really careful in that situation. Although you made the commitment to stick it through sickness and health and all the other words. No, but you know, who are you? I mean, I think we're a combination of our choices and principles. And so if you stand on that, it's like I do stand on that. I said the words, right? Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I know what your point is. It's tough because you said it. You said those words. So regardless of the situation, you better work it out, right? Because otherwise, then your words don't mean much. But then again, I can't control the person.
Men don't really leave though. That's the thing. Is like
yeah,
but maybe y'all should.
I agree. Because I do feel like, and I will say this, and I think this is known. I feel like men do settle too.
Also,
yeah, I think men definitely settle. Like they get, like some people don't want.
I mean, men settle more because we don't have no choice. You know, we get what we can get. You know, we don't got to pick at the litter. Y'all got to pick at the litter. Y'all born with that. That superpower.
That's.
I mean, which is true because in the sense of you don't like men come to you. For most women, most of the time, you get the attention, right? I have to go be the person to seek attention, so I have a lot more work to do.
But I also feel like it's a little bit easier for men to also like get women based on like their status in life.
Statistically, 50% of men ain't even checking for us no more.
Well, the thing is, men.
Are you talking about black women?
No, it's just 50% of men 18 to 35 ain't even
to that point, men already know what you're looking for. We already know what to be.
What are we looking for?
We know what you're looking for, but we know the symbols of what you're looking for.
Money and orgasms.
Now that you brought that up.